What if I told you that the glitter, the smiles, and the high kicks came at a hidden cost? Let's talk about America's Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders Season 2 on Netflix from a licensed therapist perspective. If you are new, welcome, but if you are a returning subscriber, you already know how my review videos go. Full disclaimer, there will be spoilers in this video. So if you have not watched DCC on Netflix, Season 1 or Season 2, go on over, binge watch it, and then come back because we got a lot to talk about. So put in the comment section, what did you think about Season 2? I mean, Season 1 was a doozy. And if you haven't watched my review on that, please do so. I'll link it up here and put it in the description because we talk about a lot of juicy things in that one too. But the first thing that I have to talk about is this pay increase. They said they got a 400% pay increase. Oh my gosh. When I tell you I am so happy for them, I am excited and proud of them because they really do deserve it. This goes without saying, these women are talented, beautiful, and all of the things. But what they did for this is that they advocated for themselves, and I'm glad they chose to do that. Now, it kind of seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it seemed like they got the the gusto, and the courage to advocate for themselves because of us, because of the public that says, hold on, y'all not making a livable wage? Hold on, y'all need to be paid more. Hold on, y'all need to fight for yourselves. Hold on, say something. It seems like having the outside public rooting for them really is what pushed them to go forward and say, hey, you're right. We do deserve more money. So the 2024 team did something that nobody else in like the 60 years that these women have been cheering, they did something that no one has done before. And they stood up for themselves, they advocated for themselves, and they won. So major shout out to Armani, to Jada, to Clean, what's her name? Marissa, Megan, they seem to be the front runners of advocating for themselves in regards to their contract and to getting more pay. Shout out to y'all. What they did was very selfless. Remember, Armani and Jada, they're not coming back for another season, so they're not even going to be able to benefit from this pay increase, but the next team and for future DCCs, they're going to be able to have more income and probably be a little bit more calm moving forward. One thing that we know for sure is that when you're not worried about finances, you can be more present, you can manage your own mental health, you're gonna have less injuries, you're going to be less stressed and tired because you're not working 3, 4, and 5 jobs. It's going to relieve a lot of the load that these women had unnecessarily. And I am glad that Judy and Kelli agreed. It seems like they were the ones that were like, yeah, we do think that y'all should make more money, but we haven't advocated for y'all over the years either. I wonder what that was about. Speaking of Kelli and Judy, I think that this season, they were portrayed in a completely different light. They were more softer, more calm, more warm, gave better constructive feedback. They cried a lot. They said, I love you a lot. They said, I'm proud of you a lot. And we really didn't see that side of them in Season 1. I don't know if they saw themselves and they were like, whoa, I didn't realize that I was coming off this way. I want to change and I want to be better. Or because we dragged them for film. I know I talked about them and said, hold on, I don't think how they're acting and behaving is cool. Maybe that was a part of the shift that happened as well. Either way, they very much felt human this season. They didn't seem like the tyrants that they were in Season 1. They allowed them to express their own physical and medical issues, how they're missing out on their own things with their family, which we saw in Season 1 as well. But we just got to see a softer side of them, and I'm glad because these women deserve some love. They deserve some respect. They deserve a softer side because they sacrifice so much. I also believe that Julie and Kelli sacrifices a lot too in their own ways, but we'll talk about that later. The third thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the personal stories that we got a chance to see this season. Now, we've seen a little background story for some of the women last season, but I feel like this went way deeper. I even mentioned in my first review video, again, go check it out if you haven't already, that I felt like the women were tiptoeing around what they wanted to say. They didn't seem confident. They seemed a little scared, like, ooh, if I say this, the Cowboys is gonna get on me. If I say this, Julie and Kelli is gonna get on me. I did not get that vibe this season. The women were bold. They said what they wanted to say and they meant it. It felt like it was a deeper heart-to-heart level this time. We saw Armani talk about her struggle with alopecia and losing all of her hair and having to wear wigs and learning her background story. We saw Jada talk about her relationship with her father and how he had gone through his addiction and wasn't always present and was in prison and how that impacted their relationship. We saw Shandy talk about how she was adopted and the toxic and abusive relationship that she was in. And I can tell in her eyes, I felt the same thing about Shandy as I felt about Victoria. I don't know if you guys remember my first review, I said something was off in Victoria's affect when she was talking. I knew she was going through something much deeper because what she was saying didn't necessarily match up with her facial expressions. And I felt the same way for Shandy. As soon as she started talking, I said, something's going on with this baby right here. I said, something's going on with her and I'm not sure what it is. But obviously over the episodes, we got to see, and she started to be a little bit more honest about what she was going through, the stalking, the physical abuse, her mental health. It seems like there were times where she was either self-harming in some way, suicidal, depressed, and I picked up on that. Maybe that was my therapeutic spidey senses that don't miss. I picked up on that on the first episode with her. We also seen Dayton's story and about her mom being one of the choreographers and that process. And then we got to see Victoria. I'm so glad they included her in season 2 because if they didn't, I would have been like, hold on, something's missing here. But a lot of you guys were the one who filled me in on Victoria about what she was doing, how she moved to New York and she was thriving, all of those things, because unfortunately, I don't necessarily follow any of these women on social media. Outside of me watching the episodes, I don't really stay connected with them, and I probably should. But essentially what I'm saying for this one is that I got the realness that I was craving. I got the honesty that I was craving, and I hope that you guys felt the same way. The fourth thing that we have to talk about is mental health. You know I'm not gonna do a video about DCC and not talk about mental health. This time I wanna talk about how this could have been included in their sponsorship packages. Remember, they have that episode where people come and say, hey, you can get your hair done for free, you can get your eyelashes, you can get tanning supplies, you can get this, get dental work and all of these things. But why haven't y'all included free therapy sessions? Huh? Judy, Kelly, Dallas Cowboys? I'll wait. Because you guys see what these ladies and these women go through. And to not have some type of therapeutic services for them when you know some of them are depressed, when you know some of them are dealing with life transitions, when you know some of them are dealing with eating disorders and perfectionism and family issues and anxiety and childhood trauma and so on and so forth. I feel like you guys or the Cowboys franchise is doing them a disservice by not adding that in to all of the other resources and benefits that they currently get. These women struggle so much. And if I'm being honest, Kelli and Judy also need some therapy services as well. The fact that Kelli and Judy feel like they can't retire or they're not going to retire, or what would they do after they retire, that is a deeper issue that needs to be explored as well. Because baby, you're not gonna live forever. Baby, you can't do what you're gonna do forever. We see y'all having medical issues, right? And so this is an additional way for them to be able to relate to the girls and say, dang, I got some of my own personal things going on, but I continue to show up and try to be great as well. I'm wondering what they go through when they have to work 3-4 jobs. In addition to me feeling like they also need to include like a psych evaluation when they are auditioning these women. I think in the very early stages, especially once you get to like training camp, you should absolutely get a psychiatric evaluation, meaning let's talk about this, let's dive through this, let's see if you do have some mental health challenges or something that could be a barrier or could make this process a little bit harder for you. They were so concerned about, oh yeah, they'll be struggling throughout the year and doing this if they don't learn the routine and all of these things, but what about struggling throughout the year because of your mental health failing, huh? We don't talk about that, and they should. Next thing that I want to talk to you guys about, actually before I move on to the next one, I just wanted to share with you guys real quick, after I recorded my last video on season 1 of DCC, some of the cheerleaders reached out to me directly via email oh my gosh. And they explained to me that everything that I talked about in the first video was right on point. I didn't miss anything, but they also gave me a little bit of extra tea, okay? And things that I didn't know about, a little inside scoop. And while I will always protect their identity and not put them on blast, I just wanted you guys to know that that video went so, I don't want to call it viral, but it impacted so many people that a lot of the cheerleaders started seeing it and they reached out to me. So I don't know what's going to happen from this video, but I love the fact that I got a chance to touch people in a different way, unexpectedly. So let's talk about transition trauma and life after DCC when you have already hit a peak achievement. We all know that life goes on after DCC. I think what these women experience is a very unique form of grief. They're mourning the loss of community. They're mourning the loss of identity and of a dream that actually came into fruition. Even though the organization and society will tell them, oh, just be grateful, you got a chance to be a part of it and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, we get that part. But what do you do when you go from being chosen at a very high level to essentially being regular? There's a process that happens in between that transition that not too many people in DCC are aware of or ready for. This is why we see some of them go on after DCC and continue to do great and amazing things. And then we see some of them actually not do so great because they don't know who they are outside of dance, outside of DCC, and what's next for the ongoing chapters in their life. But either way, I was very proud of the women who know when it's time to leave. Either they aged out, right? Or they hit their 5-year or whatever the case may be. There were a lot of them that said, yeah, it's time for a new chapter for me, right? It didn't matter if it was because they wanted something different, a change in their life, or it was because of some organizational BS that some of the ladies experienced. A lot of them felt the shift in the energy from Kelli, Judy, the whole franchise basically being like, yeah, you started this whole contract drama and pay increase situation, so we're gonna treat you a little bit differently, even though we're gonna act like we're not. And so while Shandy and some other people made some really big mistakes this year, which blew my mind. By the way, I was blown away like, Shandy, what? But that just shows that she was going through something on a deeper level, a personal level that impacted not only her, but how she was able to show up for everybody on the team, especially as a leader. People looked up to her. But that shows she's not perfect, and neither is any of the ladies. And because they preach, Jesus, 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 Christianity all day, a part of that is forgiveness. So are you gonna forgive Shandy and allow her to come back into the fold and, act like nothing ever really happened, and we're gonna love on her to make sure that she's gonna be her optimal self and she can get that space? Or are we gonna condemn her forever? Because it could have been any of them that made that same mistake. At the end of the day, each woman being true to themselves in real time was excellent. When it was time to go, they knew it, right? They weren't trying to hold on just for the sake of holding on. Some of them were like, hey, my chapter is up and that's okay. So thank you so much for watching another review on my channel. I absolutely think that there will be a season 3. I hope it is, of DCC, and what will continue to happen with new girls, new rookies, new people coming in. And if I left something out that y'all want to talk about, please put it in the comment section because I will be in there chit-chatting with y'all back and forth. Thank you so much for watching. Be blessed. Bye.